I'm Breanne Smart. I'm the chef here at Mila. We're so happy to be partnering with Spud.ca and Locals for Locals to highlight some of the great dishes that we serve around Vancouver. Today we're going to be making the Lemon Custard Bar, which is one of the desserts on our menu. Come on in. Alright, so today we're going to make the Lemon Custard Bar that we serve here at Mila. There's 4 components to this dish, and they come together pretty quickly, and then you leave it in the fridge to set overnight, so it's a pretty simple recipe. We're going to start with our crust, which consists of some quick oats and some flour. You can use an all-purpose flour or a gluten-free flour blend to make this gluten-free pretty easily. So I'm going to pop that into our food processor here. And we're just going to blend this together until a coarse sand is achieved. You want to be able to push it all together with butter and have it set really well. So I'm just going to pulse this. Alright, so you're looking for this consistency. Coarse sand, we can still see some piece of the oats, but it's pretty homogeneous at this point. So we're going to transfer this into our bowl, mix it with our butter and sugar, and press it into our final tin. Okay, now we're ready to assemble the crust. So I have my flour and oat mixture. Pour that into my bowl. And this is a pretty salty crust to balance the lemon and the sweetness that you get from the custard. So we add in some salt. We're gonna add in our brown sugar. And then this is vegan margarine or vegan butter is fine. Any brand is fine. There's lots of brands available on Spud.ca. There's Earth Balance, and what we like to use here is called Valencia, or you can also get Basil just at your regular grocery store. And we're just going until it starts to come together. We're going to transfer it into our baking dish. This recipe will bake a 9x3 dish, which I know is not very common, but you can double it to a 9x6 regular baking pan, and that'll work just fine. So we're going to take our crust mixture, and I'm just pouring it into a parchment lined baking sheet, or baking pan, sorry. And then we're going to evenly spread it out here, get into every corner. And you really want to start to push down to get that nice and compact. Otherwise, your crust is going to be really crumbly and it will fall apart. There we go, we've pressed as much as we need to. Alright, so the next step that we're going to do is the lemon custard, so the top of the bar. We're going to start with oat milk, and this is actually Earth's own oat milk, and you can order this off Spud.ca, and this is a local Vancouver company. We use it in a number of our recipes here at Mila. It's an absolutely fantastic product. It's great for baking, cooking, anything. It's really creamy in a lot of our hot drinks as well. So I've got 2 cups of the oat milk, and then this is the same amount of coconut cream or coconut milk. You want to make sure that you get a 20% fat coconut milk, so there's lots of fat in there and it'll help the recipe set up. Put that in there. I'll switch to my whisk here just so that I can incorporate the coconut cream into the oat milk. And then next I'm going to put in my sugar. And making sure that the sugar you use is vegan is easy because any organic sugar is automatically going to be vegan, and they won't use any bone char in the production of the sugar. And then this here is fresh lemon juice and lemon zest. So zest your lemons, juice them, and you should only take about 5 lemons in total. And so we're going to pour that in here. The lemon zest is really important because that carries most of the lemon flavor throughout the bar. And we're just going to wait and bring that to a boil. Alright, we're going to go pop this in the oven. And we're putting this in at 350 for 25 minutes. Alright, so now we're going to make the berry compote that we put on top of the lemon custard bar. It really will take any topping, but this is what we like to use here because it's nice and fresh and fruity. We use berries from Colin Rager Farms, and you can order them off of Spud.ca as well. It's just a mixed berry blend, so we've got some blackberries, strawberries, blueberries, really any berries will work, and if you have fresh ones at home, you can use that as well. So I'm just adding this to our saucepan. With the curd for the lemon custard, you can put this up as high as you want, as long as you're stirring it. If you want to kind of set it and forget it, just put it on a really low heat and you can walk away from the stove no problem, without burning your house down. So we're just going to keep this stirring. I've got it on about 400 degrees. We're just going to stir until the berries will start to burst. The sugar will start to kind of break down those walls around the berry, and they'll start to leak out some of their juices, and that's when we know it's ready to start boiling. So we're just gonna stir it until we get to that point. So the sugar interacting with the berries is called macerating them. Basically the crystals from the sugar are pretty rough against the berry skin, so they'll start to tear them apart. As you can see, the berries are letting some of their juices go, and we can see some of those juices come out, and so we're just going to continue to stir. If you prefer a more jam-like consistency, you can boil it really, really long. Some people prefer a much more loose consistency, and you can take it just to this point here. So we at Mila, we will boil this for about 10 more minutes, so we get in between jam and that loose juiciness. So right in that sweet spot in the middle. Alright, so our berry compote is ready. It is, like I said, halfway jam, halfway juice, and it is starting to kind of cling to the bottom of the pot, so that's when I know it's ready. At this point, I'm going to put in our cardamom, which is what we use here, but you can flavor it with any spices or anything you like, or just leave it as is. It's pretty tasty on its own. So I'm putting in an eighth of a teaspoon of cardamom. It's a very, very floral spice, so you really don't need a lot of it, and you don't want it to overpower. We more just want it to complement. So we're going to stir that up. We're at the final step of our lemon custard, and we're going to add our slurry of, this is just cornstarch and just a little bit of that Earth's Own oat milk. I'm just going to mix that up. And we're going to whisk that together. Cornstarch is activated through heat, so we need to bring this up to a boil so that it will start to thicken throughout the custard. And then we're going to add my favorite vegan ingredient, which is dried seaweed. It's called Agar. This is in powder form. If you use flake form, you just want to double the amount that's in the recipe. But this is basically the vegan or plant-based equivalent of gelatin. It will set all your desserts. It works really well for any type of gel dessert, or like we're using it in a custard form. So I'm just going to pop that in there. And the same as cornstarch, agar is activated by heat. So again, this needs to be brought to a boil and simmer for about 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to Vitamix it, just so that we get it really, really smooth and pure before we pour it onto our crust. You'll obviously want to make sure you're using a blender that can handle hot liquids. Seal this up and leave the top crack so that steam can escape. It doesn't need very long, just as long as it's fully mixed. And then this is our crust that we pulled out of the oven, and we've let it cool for about 5 minutes. But if you touch it, the crust itself is still a little bit warm. That helps with the setting process because you want your crust to be a little bit warm so that the custard will actually sink in, so that you don't have crust and then custard and it separates when you're serving. So we're just going to pour the warm custard over the warm crust. So all we're going to do is cover this, and we're going to put it into the refrigerator. It takes about 6 hours to set, so you can set it the night before you want to serve it, and then we'll cut and serve in the morning. Okay, so we have our final product. The custard has set up overnight. We'll just trim that off so we get a nice square here. So we're just going to cut right through the bar here. And then we're going to top with our berry compote. And there you go. That's how you make the lemon custard bar for Mila at home.